Let's bring in Tony Mepham. Tony, Sam Spooner said it there. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're not very good. So
experience, it's called.
Experience, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. One place to start in the Canada Life Premier League tomorrow, an absolutely massive game. St George's at home to Peel. Which way do you see this going? Because they both score goals, 135 between them. Is this going to be a case of who's got the better resolve?
I think possibly what won't have helped is the way the fixtures have been, as in postponements and everything else. I know last week the Ireland team were away, but I watched this game earlier on in the season at Peel, and though St George's didn't play well, they still got the result that they wanted. And, you know, Peel keep chipping away. They've been so close over the last few years to lifting this league championship that they probably feel at the moment it's probably their best chance that they've had. Certainly the team that they've got is a lot stronger than they've had in recent years. St George's have been sort of plagued with a few absentees, Joey Morland's injury, Callum Morrissey's injury, also people who haven't been able to sort of make it due to work commitments, Chris Bass, retraining and everything else. And you just wonder what team is going to come out for both teams. St George's home advantage, well done to Graham Parkinson for getting that pitch sorted out after the last time we saw it being played there at Glencutchie Road. And it's hard to point where this is going to go. I know Chris Bass's team, I think Kieran McNulty will read the front line for O'Davies, will probably be there. Whether Callum Morrissey comes back in, there's talk of him coming back into the setup, I'm not too sure. Defensively, you know, the usual people are going to be there. Sam Kane, Sean Quay, Julian Ringham. Whether they play Jack McVeigh at the back, I'm not too sure, but certainly Steve Faulkner as well. He's got a lot of good players to pick from. Some players coming back from injury. Billy Kennick, I think, will start, and I think he could be key to Peel having a real good day here, because Billy's a bit of a live wire. He's quick, and something that Peel haven't had over the last few games. They've got Lee Gale there at the right hand side. Tom Woods recovered from injury. It's important to get him back in there, because he certainly is, I think, one of the most improved players in Manx football this year. And with Dominic McCreevy alongside him recovering from flu, then it bodes well for a really good game. And let's just hope that it turns out that way, because sometimes they can actually go pear-shaped and it doesn't happen. But tomorrow, I think it's going to be a good one. The
amount of times a game gets so much hype on Sky Sports or BT and it ends up being a down 0-0 draw. You know, I love a stat. Peel, since they lost to St George's, have picked up 19 points out of a possible 21. So they go into the game in great form. But as do St George's. It was only a few weeks ago. I say a few weeks ago. We've had a number of postponements. But since their mini blip, one draw and a defeat, and people were questioning them, they've scored at least 4 goals in the 6 games since they lost to Russian. They've only failed to score fewer than 5 in one of those games. That's incredible. And you mentioned Kieran McNulty and Furo Davis. Then you expect them to start tomorrow. 38 goals between them in the league this season. That is incredible.
It is incredible. And when you look at it, probably one of the best players that Manx football has seen over the last certainly 5 or 6 years. Callum Morrissey hasn't been part of it, because Callum has been struggling with that knee injury. You know, Kieran McNulty as well is just majestic in front of goal. He's so good. And Furo Davies at the start of the season was on fire. I think he's backed off a little bit, whether things have altered. But, you know, when you look at Chris Bass, I would expect him to play tomorrow. So he's fast, quick down that left-hand side. And I think Joey Morland's recovered from that injury, and he looks as if he's got a spring in his step and will cause a few problems. But it's how that midfield role will be filled, because you've got Frank Jones in there who can weigh in with goals. He works hard. And whether he goes with Jack McVeigh there and maybe brings Johnny Myers back in, I'm sure Chris Bass and Lee Dixon are trying to work out. And Steve Faulkner as well will be sitting at the dinner table tonight, probably trying to get himself sorted out what team he's going to play with, because as we say, Lee Gale's been playing well, plenty of goals on that right hand side. Dan Lace come back in, Owen Dawson in goal has done really well. Mark Kelly has just earned his 50th cap for the Ireland side. Well done to Mark. And also the amount of appearances they put in for Peel. So it really is a pivotal weekend, I think, for the Premier League, because you've got the St George's Peel. St George's win, they go on the same points as Peel, and they've got 2 games in hand, as where if Peel won it, then they've got the bragging rights. But I think there's another big one there as well in Old Boys and Corinthians, because Old Boys have proved a little bit tricky for Corinthians over the last 2 or 3 years, and they were one of the teams to beat them at the start of the season, and that 2-0 win, I think, still rests in the minds of Corinthians players.
Well, St George's have only kept one clean sheet in the league tomorrow. It's going to be a fascinating game. I really do believe that, and I take it that's the one you'll be watching for Manx Radio tomorrow.
Yes, I'd love to be at Blackberry Lane to watch that one, but I think we've got to cover this one, and I know I've said it right the way from the start of the season. I still see St George's as the favourites to win the championship, but I think Peel, Corinthians and Russian are much improved this year and breathing down the neck of St George's to try and take that league title away from them.
I just want to touch briefly on the relegation dogfight.
Yeah.
Ramsey in action tomorrow away at Douglas Athletic. Now, Ramsey haven't won since the first day of the season. Is there a danger if they fail to get any points tomorrow that's them gone? I mean, they do have loads of games in hand, really, on Colby, who play tonight, incidentally, against St John's.
Yep.
But Douglas Athletic, conversely, if they win, does that mean they're safe? 19 points if they win tomorrow.
Douglas Athletic are safe, and I don't think they were ever in doubt. I think what sort of made a few people look at it and think Douglas Athletic might struggle here is the horrendous start that they had. I think it was 6 or 7 of the top sides and the points weren't coming, but once they sort of got into the stride and started playing against the clubs that they were sort of at that bottom 5 or 6 teams, then the points came on. They've had some good results. That result against St Mary's, where they were 6-0 up after 25 minutes or something, just shows that they're not cannon fodder. And I think Ramsey know that they're going to have to produce something special at the end of the season now to try and stay into this league, and I don't think they've got it. I don't think the players are there. They're very young, and maybe they've got to go down into Division 2 to regroup, get confidence back in the team, get a little bit older, bit wiser, and then try and get back up, because I think it's important to have a northern side in the Premier League, and with Ramsey struggling to stay in there, Ramsey Youth Centre battling to try and get promoted, and Ayr United sort of struggling a little bit. It does look as if maybe the northern teams might be absent from the Premiership next year, 2018-19.
And it could be a southern one replacing them, but we'll hear more of that after the news at 6 o'clock. You touched on the Douglas Athletic start there. They went 6 without a win at the start of the season. Bearing in mind they did play Corinthians, Peel and St George's in their first 3 games. That's possibly your worst nightmare, I think, for any team when you look at the fixture list. But I think it was, and somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a 4-0 win against St John's. That was their first win of the season, and since then they've not really looked back, have they? Yeah,
possibly 4-0. It could be. It could be. I know they drew. I thought they drew with St John's, but you might be right there, but that's off the top of my head. You've got the sheets in front of you. But I think Douglas Athletic have done really well since they've come back into the Premier League. Brian Gartland's done a great job there. I think they've had some really good players. They've had to cover from the loss of Mark Wolfenden this year, and it's gone well. And when you look at it, they play on that real tight pitch down at Springfield Road, and I watched them recently demolish Douglas Royal, and I don't think it was ever a question that they would be relegated. So well done to them for staying in the top flight. I think they're there at 19 points.